All right, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq, when we need to talk about exactly what is happening on the market, what to expect going into tomorrow. The big news right now in the after hours is definitely pushing us up and giving us the possibility of getting a breakout on the Nasdaq and the S&P. Like, subscribe, do what you got to do. Let's get to it. Now, when we jump into what is happening here specifically, let's talk about Microsoft. This has been the expectations on the week. What did we say at the beginning of the week, right? Monday and Sunday, we go over the whiteboard expectations. This week specifically, what do we know? Tuesday, Microsoft, big earnings. This would definitely impact the overall flow and really get us going into earnings season. We had Netflix first, now Microsoft. Two beats could definitely edge us in to getting a little trend going on here. Now, as we look what happened starting this week, we've definitely had a bounce back and things have turned more bullish. Now, when we look at Microsoft, what happened? We go and look at their report. They reported EPS of 2.32 versus 2.29 projected with a slight miss on revenue. Now, again, this is what I want to say right now. This is not a good beat. I'm going to tell you right now. This is not like great news. This isn't us pushing up saying, oh my God, there's so much demand. These companies are awesome. That's not what this is. We came into earnings season with the expectation, in my opinion, of bad earnings. But the question was, would revising down and just getting by be good enough? And it seems right now it is. So if we look at what's happening on the after hours, we basically pushed up from 242 on Microsoft to about 251.5, highs of I think 253. And if we look at 254 almost actually. And if we look at the Nasdaq, since markets have closed and you had this going on, we can go like the 15-minute, turn off indicators and just look really quick where we're at. Let's go to the 5-minute a little bit further down. You've seen a really nice push, almost 100 points on Nasdaq, getting a little bit of a sell-off here. And we have their earnings call coming in like 50 minutes, but that's where we're at now. And just so you know, you have the data being released, and then you have the actual call of the forward-looking statements, et cetera, and like what happened this quarter. So what is happening here? What's driving us up? Now, this is my personal belief with earnings right now. I believe that we're looking and valuing these companies based on demand getting killed, which we know is happening, right? So what do we know right now? If we look at longer form, looking at the market, our thesis is still downside in the longer term. Shorter term, we expect upside right now based on earnings that keep coming out that are just pushing us up. And then we look at the price action, which we'll cover in a second. Those two tell us upside in the short term. Long term, data still points to the downside. Now, what do we know from the longer term data? If we look at PMI, any manufacturing, etc., demand is way down. It's dropped tremendously. But if these companies can keep producing overall and just get by, and people say, well, their earnings, their revenue isn't dropping dramatically, while demand across the board is dropping, then I assume the market is pricing that in as if they can survive and do this good while demand is dropping rapidly, they must be doing something right. So that's my assumptions at this point. And I think, and the more I look at this, I have to think, I anticipate this to be something that affects Apple. Because what do we know about Apple? Their demand right now, supposedly, they're reducing products across the board, overall manufacturing. So, and they're saying their demand's weakened, even though they said their demand was high last earnings. So it's like a flip-flop. So my expectation is that exactly. That we have this expectation of terrible, and it comes out, mediocre, right? And then we take this as bullish. Again, my personal opinion, how I'm viewing this right now. So again, like I said, I anticipated Microsoft to be good. If I had to say one way or the other, if I had to flip a coin, gun to my head, which way do I think it's going to go? I said yesterday, I anticipated a strong earnings. That being said, I said I would not touch the earnings, which I did not. Once again, I stay liquid into the day. Now, if we look at what's happening here on the Nasdaq, 5-minute, it looks like you're just getting a little bit of a bull flag trying to push back up. But let's look at what happened on the day. And I think today's a really important day to look at. First thing off rip, if you follow me on Twitter, I recommend doing so. And this reminds me, before we go any further, I have to ask you to do two things. Like, if you do enjoy the content, it helps out the channel a lot. But most of all, subscribe and turn those notifications on. Every single day, you can count on me to produce content for you around what's happening in the economy, news, giving you charts, everything in between. Yeah, we have the Discord where you can join and be in there all day long, but I try to offer as much free content as possible. That is my priority in 2023. Produce the most free content possible to help people along the way. Now, if you want to get into Discord and trade with us all day and, listen and ask questions, That is awesome. But we have live streams, we have Twitter, we have everything. We can ask questions and definitely get feedback. So take advantage of that. That's my advice to you if there was any advice on this channel, but always do your own DD because this is not financial advice. Let's get back to it. So we go back to Twitter and something I pointed out today. What I want to highlight really quick, we're pretty zoomed in here, so bear with me. This morning, what happened? So I came basically into the market, right, looking at upside potential today. That's what I said yesterday. But and I'm going to get to the price action, but something happened this morning. This morning, the New York Stock Exchange had 81 tickers randomly halted. A few of those to mention: Walmart. We had a lot of oil companies, Oxy, Exxon, Neo. These are just random ones I'm throwing out there right now. There was a lot. There was a whole bunch of them. But they were all just randomly either up or down like 10, 15%. For instance, Exxon, if we look at the chart, just to give you a visual, you can see that Exxon this morning basically went all the way down to $98, which if you look at something, just food for thought, you look at the daily candle, you haven't been at $99 since October 2022. Food for thought where you are, it would have been like a great opportunity, but they made a mistake supposedly with data on the market, right? And so you dropped. Now, I'm not here to debate that. I don't care. But I want to highlight, this is the importance of some of the stuff I say here. I may repeat myself. I may sound crazy, and I may sound like a broken record sometimes, but I love and I try to instill a few things. And when I repeat something, it usually might be important. But I try to say this all the time because this is so true. I told you yesterday, there's a lot of plays I like, but I'm not looking to play anything if the SPY and the Nasdaq don't support that thesis. On top of that, you come out this morning and you have crazy just data being just like either manipulated. We don't know what's really happening, right? So I saw it on Twitter this morning. I'm just saying 81 tickers get halted and we bounce right back up. Not so bear short term. If the word hack gets thrown out, 100% we will drop though. Now, this is what I'm going to say about that because I know people are going to have questions about that specifically in this video. They did not say this was a hack. And that was the only thing that I was interested in. If they came out and said this was a hack, I would have been a big bear on that data, but they didn't. On top of that, bears all day, if you look at volume that came in, they were trying to push you down. However, every time bears would start pushing you down, what would happen? You would bounce right back up and bulls would hold you up. So let's get down into the price action, then we'll go into what we're expecting and some news coming out tomorrow. Now, again, if Microsoft starts pushing, I'm going to tell you right now, high possibility you're going into your next zone. So if we look specifically, let's go to the 4-hour chart here on NQ. Let's go full screen and we look here. We're pushing out. We've broken the supply. That's the story, guys. We push into a supply, we come back down, retest support, and bounce right back up over and over and over. And this is the best we have looked on the market in probably since June. I would have to say June. Better than any of the other bounces we've had, probably, yeah. I would say the only time we looked better was maybe in March. So if we look at what's happening, you're pushing straight up. We had that move down, right? We bounced at that major point at right there, the inflection point, in my opinion, 11.3. If you break that, I'm a mega bear, and I think we make new lows. We held it, we pushed back up, and then reclaimed previous highs and pushed higher. Now, right now, we're pushing back into the key range, which we've basically been trading for some time. If we come back to the daily, you can see this is, in my opinion, actually, nope, you got invalidated right there. This was a previous supply, but now you've invalidated this point. So when you come and look at this, I think you got to take caution because you look extremely, extremely bullish. What I'd be looking at right now, I'm looking for the 12.1 to 12,000 marker. And I said in Discord earlier, literally right before market close, I want to bring it up just so you guys know I'm not, lying, going crazy, anything like that, right? I said going into the end of the day, Microsoft reports good. You're probably going to get the push to 12.1 tomorrow, okay? That's my viewpoint. I think if Microsoft keeps this up, you're going up, no doubt in my opinion. So that's what we're looking at right now, push to 12.1, maybe a little bit below that, but that's what we're looking for. If you really want to get bullish, what would I be looking for? I'm going to tell you right now. I'll be marking out that local high that we had established. That's what you want to see. Can we break above 12.228? That is what I'm looking for, okay? And I believe we're probably going to get a test of that pretty soon based on these earnings. Tomorrow we do have Tesla. But again, I don't think Tesla's as big of an indicator unless they report terrible, which they never really do. So keep that on your radar. Be watching Tesla. That's what we're looking out there. And I know people are like, dude, Tyler, you're a mega bull now. Short term, I'm going to tell you, like I said, if earnings come out strong, you have to be bullish right now. Why? Because everyone's saying the demand is going to drop. We're going to have pain across the market. But if earnings invalidate that thesis in the short term, you're just going to continue up. Now, my long-term viewpoint, I have to keep saying this. There's a difference between short and long-term. There's a total big difference. But my opinion, short-term, we look really good as earnings continue this train to the upside. Long-term, I think we will be in danger. I'm going to keep saying that. Long-term, as of now, we have not invalidated the downtrend. We have not, mounted a higher high, which again, I've said in my live stream, we need above 12.2. I said yesterday also. So that's what we need to do there. Now, going into ES, what's happening here? ES is definitely getting some love. But what I'm going to tell you now is as we look at ES, there's something that you can notice the difference in. You are not making higher highs like you are on Nasdaq. The Nasdaq is leading us. And this is the other area that I said originally that had me starting to get bullish, right? It was the fact that when you look at this, finally, the Nasdaq is leading the way for the first time since June. If we go back from October through December, that push up you had, it was all being led by Dow and the S&P, which is fine, but it wasn't being led by the areas of the market that got us to the all-time highs in the first place, which was the Nasdaq. All tech. Remember back in 2020 and all of that happening. Tech was the leader. Tech was the one pushing you to higher highs, higher highs, higher highs. That's what you need to be looking out for here. So this is what I'm watching right now. And again, I recommend you don't price anything in yet. You need to wait for that earnings call to come out from Microsoft's in, but I don't imagine it being that bad. I'm just going to tell you right now. So as we look at what's happening with ES, again, it's a little dangerous, but again, I'm looking for the 4,100. I've been saying if you push above 4,000, 40.29 roughly, that you're going to get that 4,100 test. So I'm definitely looking for that. And again, I want to highlight this. Even if we hit these ranges, it doesn't make your long-term trend back to being bullish, okay? I have to say that as many times as possible so you guys understand. And you never take anything I say, wrong. I try to at least to clarify as much as possible. So looking here too at volume, let's look what happened on the day. And again, I want to highlight this. What have we been saying? Previous days, and I posted this on Twitter, as we've been bouncing bullishly, I'm correct, right? We've acknowledged that. Since we bounced from the bottom, great volume here, 91 million. We saw it start, really on that downtrend for 400, still great volume, but bulls battled back with equivalent to good volume. 30-day average is, I believe, 81 million. It probably dropped after today. And then you got 84 million yesterday again. Still great volume pushing you up. Today, what happens? You can't really call today a bullish day. You can't say the bulls are trying to push you up. You can't really say either. What you can acknowledge is today was a very big day for sellers. Why? Again, what did we talk about yesterday? And I posted this on Twitter also, so that's why I say Twitter, right? Because you're going to get so much more so you can see, and a lot of your questions are going to be answered there. What were we watching for? Specifically on the SPY, this is what I was watching right here. 428, 419, your previous highs from last week. All day long, we battled here. All day long, right? Even with the news of 81 tickers getting halted, right? And it screams manipulation, a possible hack. I mean, uncertainty is all it really screams to me. And when we look at that and we take a step back, it makes me wonder, look at the market now. I'm like, man, today the sellers tried. I can say right now, though, as we were looking at the market, I told everyone in Discord when we were trying to trade, you were not getting any real bullish flow in the market. What does that mean? You weren't getting buyers trying to push you up through or to new highs at all today. That was not what was happening. Buyers were only showing up when sellers would start to push you down. So when you would push up here, it was with minimal volume, right? The only time we had good buying volume was the first basically hour of trading. We had about like 7 to 10 million of good buying volume, and then sellers try to push you back down on repetition. But you'll notice where they try to hold you below that 40-22 range. And you did hold below it. You did right now. And after hours, you are down in the S&P. But what I'm going to say right now is overall, in my opinion, they did not accomplish what they wanted to because they tried to get you really down. You even saw it at the end of the day, but buyers continue to bounce you back. So again, my biggest takeaways right now, and looking at the market before we go into some stocks I'm liking, right? My biggest takeaways, one, when you're day trading, you got to get in and get out quick. I don't think this is a swing trader's market right now. I think that it's very indecisive back and forth, and it's going to continue tomorrow with more and more earnings coming in. So you need to understand that. Two, when you're looking at this, I believe supply and demand is more relevant than ever because what they're trying to do is you're getting key battles, if you will, between bears and bulls as far as selling and buying volume. I'm trying to make this really simple so you can understand. And TOS, again, I've showed you the indicators, gives you a really good visual volume. And what you're seeing here is they come to these areas, they push you down, and then you get no follow through. It's what we were talking about previously when we come all the way back to that selling like we were seeing down here. Remember, we were advocating for getting a new low, but every time you come to lows, buyers would just push you back up. They weren't trying to really push you to new highs by any means. They were just holding you at that level. Now, this is a longer time frame to look here, but I'm just saying, very similar action here. They're not really trying to push you up. They're trying to hold you there, wait for the earnings data, and then let the news do all the work. And I think that's what we're seeing now. As we look at it, I'm just giving you my 2 cents, giving you my viewpoint right now. I still think you have to side with the bull theory unless some terrible news comes out. Today had the opportunity to be that terrible news, but it wasn't. And you don't have any big data coming out on the broad market until Thursday, which is GDP. Now, again, someone tried to tell me yesterday, like, well, you don't think PMI is going to push you down? Guys, PMI came out basically flat. No, I don't think PMI is going to drop you down. What do we already know? We already know demand's dropping. Who cares right now? At this point, unless it's absolutely terrible PMI report, no one cares right now. You even had a terrible one last week or 2 weeks ago, and the market did nothing. I think we bounced. So food for thought, doesn't really matter. Looking deeper though, tomorrow, I will say you do have your Bank of Canada interest rate decision. That will be important. I definitely think this could impact our markets if it comes out a surprise. I don't think it will, but we'll see. If it comes out 0.25, I think it'll be fine. But anyways, I think it's something to just keep your eye on. I'm not super worried about it. And it's actually about, I believe, an hour and 30 minutes after open, or 30 minutes after open. Yeah, 30 minutes after open. So again, you don't have to worry about that in the pre-market or in the after hours. Would be watching that. Crude inventories not that important. I don't think it's an effective broad market. That's what we have, okay? So going into Thursday though, that's your GDP, that's your big day. I'm gonna tell you right now, GDP Thursday, big day. That's what we got to worry about. Now, some stocks I'm liking. What did I tell you yesterday? I like semiconductors. Looking at semis. Again, I like to be as transparent as possible when I'm looking at these. Good, bad, ugly, I don't care, right? So when we're looking at semis, what happened? Now, QCOM, you got right to our target, right into 32.5 range. Boom, you're getting rejected into the day. But what can we say here? In my opinion, you're still holding some of these very big levels that we've kind of been loving, okay? These are some of the indicators that I believe that we got to keep our eye on, got to keep our focus on. The 200 SMA has been a beast, to say the least, okay? And it rhymed, unintentional. But you're holding that 200 SMA, and you really look good here. So I'm watching QCOM. Why? The semiconductor sector, and as a whole, as we look at SOXX, is an absolute monster. Again, what I recommend you do, look at some of these ETFs on a longer term viewpoint. And again, very similar to NVIDIA's chart, right? Obviously, inverted head and shoulders. Head, shoulder, shoulder. You're pushing up probably, you have room, 20 points of upside on the ETF, okay? You've already broken local highs, very illiquid. You have room at least to 409, 408. Going into QCOM, I mean, it's beautiful. You've gotten up, you're hitting that range there. You get above 134. In my opinion, this thing's starting to cook up to roughly the 100 SMA, but it will be near 140, 141 roughly. Again, these are some of the plays we love finding when you get that breakout and that illiquidity, right? That's what we look for. Next up, I'm literally obsessed, in love with Apple right now. This thing is getting the bounce back that we needed, and it's pretty crazy, right? I was a bear under 138, but let me tell you, it conquered 138. We saw the rejection once, came down, broke above, mounted, pushing up. I think you have room roughly to 148 to 100 SMA. But if we look a little bit more closely in the short term, I'd be looking towards 145 roughly. Right now on the 2 hour, you can see very clear. What are you doing? You're forming a clear ascending triangle, right? Again, one of the best signs of continuation, probably the best pattern to be looking for when it comes to continuation. Trying to mount, trying to push up. I love Apple here. I think you have a lot of room. Short term though, if you want to be a little bit generous, taking some of those profits, again, I'd be looking slightly towards 145. You have a little bit of a supply zone right here on the 2 hour, possibly on the 4 hour. So Apple, absolutely love it for the upside. Again, what am I saying here? Before you look at any of these plays, okay, because I know y'all love to say, well, Tyler, you know, I watched the video yesterday. You said Apple had room to 146, 148. Look, I only take any of these plays if the S&P and the Nasdaq agree with me. What does that mean? If we open up tomorrow and the S&P is just dropping, I'm obviously not looking to go long, okay? The S&P, the Nasdaq are your primary focus. That's why we cover them so much in all my videos, because that's your focus. That is the center of your trading. If you know where the indexes are going, you probably know where your stock is going to go. Now, looking at this, you have a lot of illiquidity here. I think you have a lot of room to get going if you break out of this. I'm going to tell you right now, the Apple also, something to notice on the day. What do we want to talk about here? The 15-minute as we started the day here. So where we start the day? Right here on the down. So we start the day about right here, right? And actually down here at 140. You start the day here. All day long, you're pushing up. I want you to notice something. The SPY today. You started down, you kind of got pushed up, kind of came back down. When the SPY was dropping, the only time Apple really got hit was at the end of the day. Other than that, you were in a straight uptrend all day long. Apple is holding its own without the SPY. What do we know about Apple? Apple essentially is the SPY. It's one of the, I think it's like, what is it, like almost, it's over 10%, I believe, of the SPY. I could be wrong. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. Just throwing it out there right now. Apple, SPY, basically the same thing. So what I'd be looking at here is if Apple's showing its strength there, it could be a leading indicator also of what the SPY wants to do. Again, I love it. I think Apple has a clear shot upside. Day trading opportunity. We love Apple. Very low risk when you're trading, and also typically absolutely love it. That's what I'd be looking at there. Now, again, I think you're focused though tomorrow. Going into pre-market, we want to see what is Microsoft doing. If it keeps us going into the after hours, I side with strength, okay? And I can't stay on long enough, obviously, to go through that earnings statement. So that's what we're looking at there. That's what I'm going to follow you up with. Those are my favorite plays. I'm not 2 minute today, but I love semiconductors and I love Apple. Those are my favorite plays right now. I'm going to stay where the strength is in the market. I'm going to focus and take advantage of what's moving the best and what's moving the safest. I'll see you tomorrow. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Have a good one.